and they're using the helicopters also. And also the no-fly zone will send actually significant message to the Assad regime that the international community is serious, is dealing with the issue like they did in Libya. And more important to have the safe zone with Turkey. But Turkey, they cannot take the task this alone. Turkey, it's need to have actually the resolution of the Security Council. And we've been explaining that to the people. But the people on the ground, they lost the patience with that. That's understandable. But at the same time, they expected that if the SNC they've been formed, next day the night will start pumping, like what's happened in Libya. They have the high expectation, and this has been understandable. But also I agree with Ammar. There's a lot still different voices among the SNC. Burhan Waliun was supposed to be actually the spokesperson and the president of the SNC, taking different positions than others. Well, this creates some problems for the SNC, but at the same time, we have to work from SNC because this is the only group we have. Regarding the Free Army, Riyad al-Assad, I have been in conversation with Riyad yesterday for 2 hours, and I have been in conversation with him since actually June. But this is the capacity of the Free Army is not clear yet. They are not organized enough to have actually major operations against the Assad militias. It's true that they have strong positions in different cities in Syria, like Jabal al-Zawiya or Jisr al-Shaghur, but it's not in other cities like in Homs or in Idlib or in Deir ez-Zor. Our really problem, how can they help? The question, how can we help them to organize? Because our responsibility also to protect those soldiers who have no options, to be killed or to be killed. In another way, have been killed if he refused to open the fire on the protesters, he would be killed by the Assad militias. And if he defected, he would be killed also by the Assad security forces. This is why they are in very difficult position. And this is why some voices actually, they're calling not to defect publicly because regarding the safety of their lives. But at the same time, because we say that the safe zone is still very, very far away to reach, since we have to have resolution of the Security Council, and if we cannot get condemnation resolution, how can we start talking about no-fly zone and protecting the civilians as they did in 1973 in Libya? But this is the debate among the SNC and among the Syrians.
Thank you. Another? Sorry.
Just regarding the projection of progress with the opposition, just numbers you threw out, 12 months transition period, organizing the operation, etc. And if it came down to it, to say protesters internally were with you, even if it takes 3 years. So my question is, at what point would or would it ever happen with the SNC or various opposition groups who concede defeat and you just say, okay, Bashar is staying? Or at what point does it become, I guess, for lack of a better word I can think of at the moment, not a true viable challenge to us? I mean, at what point? Does this go on for years and years? Or?
Well, I don't really think that we know, defeat is one issue you cannot deal with until you actually face with defeat. We are not defeated yet. So, how long is it going to take? I hope we're not defeated, so basically I cannot really sort of from now on say, estimate how long is it going to be before we acknowledge defeat. Right now we are in a, what they call it, a stalemate. The regime is not winning. It's having its way in a sense, but it didn't end anything. The protests, even in Homs city, as they're bombing and shelling and killing people, people are still coming out in protesting. and doing their demonstrations and chanting anti-Assad slogans every night, despite the bombing, despite the bombardment. So first of all, the question of defeat is not even on the agenda at this stage. The question of how do we manage the situation that's politically complex, internally and externally, until we get what we want. We have to keep our eyes on the prize, thinking in terms of defeat, and when we acknowledge defeat, this is in itself defeatists. Right now we are still, we are reading realities on the ground. We are, they don't augur well if certain things on the organizational end remain the same. But if we improve the messaging, if we improve our structure as opposition group, a lot of things could change towards a positive. So we are still in the midst of this battle, and victory is still very much a possibility if we do certain things. So we have to keep thinking and keep pushing these kind of scenarios. And I still think we have a good chance at emerging victorious if we are mindful of some of the things, of some of the criticisms I made and some of the criticisms other people made, and if we develop our strategies and tactics. So looking at the realities on the ground right now, I think the challenges are daunting, and I think the opposition is not doing its part yet. And my job and the job of Rضوان and others is to keep pushing. I push from outside, he pushes from within. As you can say, we are on the same page on the issue of no-fly zone and safe havens and whatever. The SNC officially is not there. We have groups within the SNC who are with us on this issue. And we need to keep that kind of a momentum going if that SNC is going to be advancing its message and developing its tactics, or we have to work with a different alternative that might emerge down the road, perhaps sooner than we expect. So the reality is, it's about managing the crisis in the hope that we can still emerge victorious. When I say things don't augur well at this stage, it's because I'm being critical and I'm being honest, and I'm trying to pinpoint to problems that we need to address. But I'm still hoping that eventually the outcome is victory.
Can I ask you three specific questions? One I already asked, but your answer was sort of almost there, but not quite there. I'm sorry to be crude, but one is, are the militia sectarian? The second one is, you said 120,000 men in the military, right? How many of those have defected already? How many of those you think could defect, could flee? How many of those are actually sectarian and not? And do you have a distribution in the military between officers and men? Is it like people from the south killing people from the north and people from the north killing people from the south? How does it work? And the third one is, could you bring weapons to the defectors? Could you bring weapons to the population? Is there some channels to actually give some strength to the opposition? Because the regime doesn't want to be shamed. It doesn't want to, only doesn't give it down the fight.
One thing I want to say, and then you can take it because you're more of an expert on this military issues, Rضوان. But one thing I want to make clear: the fact that the majority of the defectors or the protesters come from Sunni Arab background doesn't make them sectarian. This is important to note. So the defectors are mostly Sunni Arabs, and there are others who are, but there are very few who are Christians or Alawites. But their language is not sectarian. Their language actually is more nationalistic than sectarian.
I mean,
at this stage.
Clearly,
yeah,
cross-sectarian.
but not only, I'm talking about the opposition, but I'm talking about the defectors per se, because the defectors per se have actually been really 99% almost Sunni. But their language that they are adopting when they're making all these videos is clearly non-sectarian, simply because the Syrian army is established by the Assad who worry about sectarian tendencies. So there is an indoctrination there that's more secular than it is, But it's, and the sectarian identity is visible. The Sunnis feel down, maltreated in the army, marginalized and whatever. But nonetheless, they realize that this is an Assad specific problem, and this is how the Assad maintain control. So they managed so far really to keep their language pretty much patriotic rather than sectarian character. Things could change if the situation continues to devolve and deteriorate. Of course, that's a possibility, and there is a lot of counter-indoctrination to the Assad. While the Assad are spewing sort of like a supremacist message along sectarian lines, there are also Salafists and on the Sunni side who are also spewing the same kind of message. And so far the protesters have managed, any defectors have managed to sort of steer clear from that. But the reality is, we don't know how much we can keep